Anyway, welcome back to the Dagnabbit boys. Wow, I thought last week was the end of Slaptober.
And you were wrong.
And I was fucking dead wrong.
And you were sorely mistaken.
So, as you guys might notice, we're usually in space when we record this, but for today, we've decided to land in Cooper's apartment, which looks a lot like the space shuttle, actually.
Remarkably similar.
Very similar. But Cooper, so you have some big news. What's that about? You were telling me some stuff before the pod that was like some huge news in your life.
Well, I most recently started about the music taste I've been into.
No. Okay.
No.
The other stuff. The big deal that you were talking about. The big announcement you have.
I'm going to kill myself on May 13th, 2025.
Well, no, that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, as everybody knows in our life, everyone that knows you knows that's going to happen at some point. But like, but they say that about both of us. So like, who knows? I mean, a lot of people have been betting I'll kill myself before you. So it's like.
Well, I was also telling you that I'm having trouble getting booked in LA because I look like Merle Haggard and sound a lot like David Allan Coe.
That's really fascinating. You did tell me that before, but that's not the big announcement you were talking about.
Okay.
It's crazy you don't remember. Like, we were just talking about it, and it was like you were really excited.
Okay. I mean, I was a little nervous about it, but the big announcement is that the podcast is going to go on a brief hiatus so I can go to Thailand. And I can get an operation that will make me, and I'm going to come back, and the Dagnabbit boys will change host from Shane and Cooper to Shane and Courtney.
Fascinating. Courtney's a woman that Cooper met fairly recently. If you want to know about Cooper's surgery, he's going to have his penis replaced with a bat, with a live bat. He will chop off the head and it will be replaced with a bat. It will still kind of be like a penis, but there will be a bat on the end of it.
It'll be a dead and decaying bat.
Well, not at first.
It's called a goth sex change.
Yes. And
I'm changing from man to goth.
Yes. And that's a really impressive thing. I mean, it's bad news for fans of the podcast who are used to tuning in every single week. Now that we're going to have a week, if you want to have a GoFundMe to help, what is it? It's going to be $25 American or
26.
26, yes, which in Thailand is $400,000 million.
It is. Well, I wanted to make the change because I think it's been clear from the beginning that I'm sort of the weak link of the podcast, and so
I've always said your penis head was very
womanly,
quiet, very quiet.
Yeah, I always had a non-substantial penis head that,
It's not that it's not big or like it's a good penis. It's a good penis. And it's just that it's incredibly quiet.
Right.
You listen, if you know Cooper in real life, I don't know if you ever listened to his penis.
Doesn't have much to say.
No, it doesn't have anything to say.
No, it was never very verbose.
And you guys might know bats, they will use sound because they're blind in order to find stuff. This bat will be very confused, so it will most likely be making quite a bit of sound, trying to figure out why most of its back has been removed and a lot of its legs and wings have been clipped so that it can be Cooper's penis head.
Part of my body, yeah.
Yeah, part of his body, yes.
Just imagine you're at a bar, you're talking to me, you look down. At first you think I'm erect, but then you notice that there's an amount of movement and chirping.
A lot of would call it scurrying.
Yeah, and
scurrying.
The sound of flapping. And also blood running down my legs. It will be constant.
It's not it's a little bit extra to have them cauterize the wound.
It'll be constantly bleeding.
Yes.
So that's the bit that Shane decided to start the podcast with.
It's not a bit.
The big announcement bit.
No, that's not a bit.
The huge announcement bit.
I do want to have a shout out to friend of the podcast, Eli Lutsky. He also will be going to Thailand to achieve a surgery, kind of similar to your own. Some would call it copying, possibly, but So what he's going to do is he's going to take a small child. It's legal to have sex with children in Thailand, but he's not going to have sex with a child. That would be disgusting, and we'd all be ashamed of Eli.
Yes.
But what Eli is going to do is Eli is going to have his asshole replaced with a live child.
Yes.
So his colon is going to, like the way it works, the turds that he has to shit out are going to come through the child's mouth. It's going to be a live child. Until he decides to stop feeding it. Eventually that'll get boring.
Well, it'll kind of live off the poop.
Yeah, it's going to have to.
Do you think there's anybody that watched Human Centipede and like a part of their brain was like, I'd like to feel what that feels like?
No, there for sure has.
Yeah.
Can I bum a Zin, by the way? You have these new high-tech Zins from
well, sorry,
from
you can't,
Belgium.
You can't bum a Zin, but you can bum a note.
Oh, I would love to bum a note.
Would you like 7 or 10 milligrams?
Wow, 7. So this is our new sponsor. It's the note. You guys might have noticed.
Here, take a spicy lime.
We've been having quite a bit of sponsors. There's been a lot of interest in.
I'm gonna message this company.
There's been a lot of interest in the Dagnabbit boys recently. A lot of illegal companies have been wanting to.
I'd love a sponsorship from Old Note. They're not bad. They're made with oat in the, we're literally doing a promo. But I am kind of interested. They make the pouches out of oats. So I guess it's biodegradable. So you can like throw this in a kid's mouth and it's fine. I don't really know what biodegradable means, but you can like put it into like a baby's butt and it'll like it. So
Are you guys sick of throwing your cigarette butts on the ground of children's playgrounds and it doesn't biodegrade? So next time you come over to the children's playground to be on the swing, smoke your cigarette, that cigarette's still there.
I do like the intuitive design.
If you take it, you can swing on the swings, and you can ask a parent there, push me higher. I'm not a pedophile. I just like the swings.
Because on this side it's the new pouches, and then your old ones go on the other side. Kind of cool.
We also have a Diet Coke here. Diet Coke is a very beloved beverage. People such as Donald Trump very much enjoy having the taste of Diet Coke in their mouth. It's very tasty stuff.
We also got a new sponsorship from coffee. Coffee makes life better.
If you like soda, you're going to love coffee.
Yeah, so coffee's kind of like soda, but for your dad.
Yes.
So like if your dad wanted soda, but if he drank soda in front of the family, he'd show that he's not a responsible, trustable, stable father.
Yeah.
And you would lose all faith in him, so he has to drink coffee. So coffee is made from beans that we steal from brown people in the southern hemisphere. And then you make it hot, and that gets the demons out of it.
Yeah, okay.
And then you drink the demon juice, which gives you energy to do things like foreclose on family homes.
Yeah.
And to lie about like the value of a company and overinflate it to fool investors. And also to, if you're a doctor, if there's like a kid that comes in and he's like not doing good, but like he's gonna be fine, you can drink some coffee and then you'll have the courage to go up to the parents and be like, he's not gonna make it. And then go back into the room with the kid and just like let him go, you know?
Yeah.
And like just like watch him and like not do anything.
Yeah. Coffee could be considered kind of like a substitute for beer, another dad drink. Dads love to drink beer. They love to yell about what their life could have been. They could wish about the end of the world, you know. But coffee doesn't really make you do stuff like that. It doesn't make you hit nobody. Coffee just kind of gets you all, you know, fidgety and stuff, and it makes you better at writing screenplays and shit.
It also makes your stomach feel bloated, and you feel kind of jittery, and you have to shit, and so you're not really horny anymore.
Yeah.
So then you can't go out and do the awful thing you usually would.
Yeah, and a lot of people know what we're talking about. There's plenty of listeners to the podcast that do some of those horrible things, and we don't like it.
No.
But we need any viewer that we can get. If you're listening to the podcast and you do that sort of stuff, you can comment underneath. You could say, explain why you do the things you do. But as of right now, me and Cooper don't agree with it. but we're willing to listen.
Yeah, I've been looking at our podcast analytics, and I tracked most of our viewers to not just Rikers Island, but a specific ward of Rikers Island for the sick, twisted, and pedophilic. And every single motherfucker in there. I mean, they got like the Joker in there. And,
wow, the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Magneto.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
What's the villain from Transformers?
Oh,
Decepticon. The Decepticon.
They got all of the Decepticons.
Our shit is so fucked up. The Decepticons think it's funny. That's how I explain our podcast. People are like, "What's it like?" I'm like, "The Decepticons like it." So if you are into stuff like that, then yeah, get used to it because the fucking Decepticons tune in.
Yeah, we also have a listener that's in the same ward as Bugs Bunny. They had to throw him in there because he dresses like a woman sometimes, and I think that's not okay. But
our podcast is so fucked.
The way America's gone fascist, Bugs Bunny in a dress is they think he's a groomer.
Yeah, a lot of people got mad at me because when they passed that anti-trans law, like the first day of the Trump administration, I posted a picture of Bugs Bunny in a dress and said, "So this illegal now?" And then people were like, "That's kind of insensitive," and I was like, "Not to Bugs." I'm talking about Bugs. And they're like,
I mean, Bugs he's really going through it right now. He can't do his story hour anymore. He wears a dress and does a story hour. And he told me, it's like, I'm not trying to groom the kids. I'm just trying to teach them about some of my favorite books. Like, my Uncle Steve Has a Roommate, you know?
Yeah.
Which kids need to learn about that.
Kids need to learn
about how your Uncle Steve sometimes has a roommate. And spoiler alert, he butt fucks the roommate.
He butt fucks the roommate. That's at the end of the book. Yeah, people got mad because I was like, wait, so like I can't talk about Bugs? And they were like, no, because like real people do that. And I was like, what?
Bugs Bunny's super funny.
Real people do that? And then I had a lot to learn. I had no idea. I was ignorant.
Didn't know? Wait.
I thought
Bugs Bunny
was...
He's an actor.
I thought Bugs Bunny was the only one wearing dresses.
Mel Blanc.
Is he still with us?
No, he's passed away since, but yeah, he, I mean, that's really crazy for Mel Blanc that he dressed as a bunny rabbit and then fucking dressed as a bunny rabbit in a dress. I mean, that's a really funny thing to happen, you know, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's
if you like comedy, check out Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, no longer on any of the streaming services.
Yeah, if you like comedy, definitely check out Bugs Bunny. I'd love to be interviewed by like a serious interviewer where they're like, who are your comedy influences? And I'm like, definitely Bugs Bunny. He's from a while. I don't know if you know about him, but
yeah,
definitely Bugs Bunny. I also like Barney from the Flintstones. That motherfucker was always on one.
Poncho from Don Quixote is one of my guys. Mount Rushmore.
And George Carlin.
Yeah.
Like Bugs Bunny, Poncho, Barney from the Flintstones, and George Carlin is probably my comedy Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Actually, instead of Carlin, it's Patrice, and it's just, he kept it real. That's what I say about, he kept it real.
What if Patrice was in the Flintstones? He'd be like, you got a bum-ass car, ain't even got no engine, gotta walk.
Yeah. I mean, Patrice and the Flintstones really would have shook the whole universe up. I mean, there's a table at the cellar, the what do they call it, the rock cellar or something, or the rock, the comedy rock or something. And I mean, you don't want to be at the table at the comedy rock, you know?
No, when it was still caveman comedy.
Yeah,
when comics in New York were just bonking each other on the head with huge wooden bats.
Yeah, I mean that's
we wouldn't have survived.
Absolutely not. I mean, the sort of us. I mean, a lot of people call us woke, you know, because we're Gen Z.
We're woke folk.
We're woke, you know, and it's you can't really survive in the caveman era if you're woke.
There's dinosaurs in the comedy cellar.
Yeah, there's dinosaurs.
We would have done that thing where we try and run, but we just stay in place and our feet spin. We would have never been accepted. We would have
looked ridiculous. Colin Quinn would have been there. And
Kay Vittel.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
Kay Vittel. Thank you.
Vittel,
yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if I can get any other names to work.
Kay Vittel was, I think, good enough. Kay Vittel was very good. You guys might notice this is a classic episode of the Dagnabbit Boys. We aren't doing any incredibly long bits that you can't clip up, but we think are good.
We're kind of still getting our footing right now.
Yeah.
I didn't totally know what you were going for with the big announcement thing. I thought
sometimes I thought it'd be funny to just come in and just force you to do work.
Well, I thought you wanted me to make something up, but I also wasn't sure. I'm also very forgetful, and I was like, maybe there is a good story. Maybe I do have news in my life. And then I remember that I'm a loser who has no news in his life.
That's kind of the joke. That's
really, I'm the joke. My life is the joke, and its inactivity is the joke.
Yeah, the idea that either of us would have a big announcement is, to me, very comical.
It's laughable.
Yeah.
It's laughable.
And I think when I said, I heard you had a big announcement, everybody that's watching would laugh and go, they're both fucking losers.
Yeah, because every single person we know got a JFL audition, and we did not.
We did not. They emailed me, and then I had to be like, I'm sorry, I do not qualify for this.
Do you have a manager?
I do, yeah.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, that's the only...
Yeah, because I'm unrepped, so they sent me the email, and they were like, a couple people recommended you can submit. And I was like, okay. But then if you just have a shitty manager, you just don't get the audition.
No. My manager, Drew, awesome guy. Shout out to Drew. Don't call him shitty. Drew is, he's an accomplished manager. He's, helped out some of our friends with a bunch of cool stuff. So, Drew, if you're watching this, when Cooper called you shitty, don't manage.
He's not watching it.
Don't manage this guy.
He didn't get you a fucking audition. You think he's watching it?
Well, he didn't get me an audition, and that's on me because I haven't met up with him in like months because I've been lazy.
Has he wanted to meet up with you?
Yes, and I just haven't.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he wants to help me so bad, and then I'm like, I wanna wake up at 2 and then do nothing for an hour, and then read for an hour, and then go to an open mic. That's just what every day is for me now.
It's such a good day, though.
It's so crazy. If you wake up at 2, it's awesome because you do an open mic at 5, and then you work for the rest of your night, and you get back home at 2 a.m. And then you're just like, I guess I'll just watch something that doesn't matter.
Right. Nothing better than watching something that doesn't matter and just really kind of moving, like doing a lot of stuff, but like never really getting anything done.
Well, yeah, you're like, well, I'm watching My Name is Earl. This is a well-written comedy, and you're watching it and you're enjoying it, and you're also like, I'm not learning anything on how to write comedy, though.
Because you're not even trying to write a comedy show.
Yeah.
You haven't even sat down and attempted it.
Well, yeah, that's another part of how I'm lazy, where I could do that.
You'd probably be good at it.
That's idea sounds...
You could probably do it really easily.
Yeah, it would probably be so... I mean, if you could just write jokes, you could write jokes in a screenplay.
I mean, TV is bad. So you can just sit down and write 30 pages of something, and it will be as good as anything on television.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, shout out to all the weird guys that are sometimes hang-arounds in LA comedy that are TV writers. They're usually not that good at stand-up.
No.
They're usually very bad.
And then they tell you what show they write for, and you're like, that's a bad show.
Sometimes it's a good show, and you're like, wow, did you write all the parts I didn't like?
Yeah. How'd that happen? Sometimes you do meet the people that have good writing jobs, and you're like, where'd they find you?
Yeah.
Were they just looking for a guy with a hat?
Yeah.
And you were there?
It's a weird, ugly guy with a hat.
And I say this with full resentment and bitterness.
Oh, no, that's exactly why.
Coming from a completely selfish place of wanting that.
Oh, yeah. I don't even want it.
It'd be so nice to clock in, just write bad television, and then make a bunch of money.
Yeah, you make $100,000 a year, and then you're like, well, I do stand up kind of.
Yeah, just pessimistically write a terrible show. But then I would, as much as I could, continue just doing stand up.
So yeah, like, I mean, our bitterness from this comes from a purely ego-driven place of like, oh, you're a part of a group of, you're part of a crew?
It just seems like such a good way.
It's not all you?
Yeah, it's just such a good way to make money is to like write jokes that don't even have to be good because there's a warm-up guy and a laugh track.
Yeah.
So it's like you could write anything and you'll get laughs because the laughs are fake. And then they pay you like so much money.
Yeah.
And then they say it's not enough money. But I work at a hardware store, and I think you get paid more to do what they do. And what they do, I don't think is much harder than working at a hardware store.
I mean,
it might be easier.
Well, you do have to go to Harvard and stuff in order to become a comedy writer. That's the new thing.
Which is also weird.
It's very strange, yeah. That's not what... When that whole thing started, when television started, it was like all the comedy writers were like motherfuckers from Brooklyn.
But it's also the Harvard thing has been that way since like the 70s, though.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
Not to say it's not a very new idea.
I guess with the National Lampoon was the start of that. But then for National Lampoon, they did just like get a couple motherfuckers from Brooklyn. And they were like, you teach us about how the real world is, and then we'll provide all the technical stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things where they're like, the National Lampoon is the oldest comedy magazine in the United States. But you've also never heard anybody being like, did you read the National Lampoon today?
I don't even think it's not still going.
It is.
It is?
I think it is. That's what makes it the oldest. I think they still do it. I think just only the fucking Harvard kids read it.
That's crazy.
So it's interesting that it's like...
Are you talking about Harvard Lampoon?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Because National Lampoon, Harvard Lampoon's definitely still going. It is weird. I was trying to read some, like, this guy. They were like, this is one of the best new New Yorker guys. And when they say new New Yorker guy, they mean like this guy. I mean, this guy's from the 90s, Ian Fraser or some shit like that. It sucks.
What was he talking about? Drinking wine?
Well, it's just like, the first piece is about like, I don't remember what that crew of British writers was called, like the one Virginia Woolf was a part of and shit. But it's like, what if they were in a band?
The dipshits?
Yeah, the fucking dumbasses.
The dumbass dipshits?
And it's like, wow, this is wry.
Yeah, I don't like being wry.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever been wry on this podcast, ever.
I think it's this. A lot of comedy writing is just so like, that kind of stuff feels very rudimentary, where you're just, I don't know, you're like writing some story about like Trump, except it's like he doesn't have shoes on, and I don't know.
It's like Virginia. What if Virginia Woolf saw Trump, and then it's a parody of Virginia Woolf, and she's like making fun of Trump or something?
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, but then you actually read it, and you're like, but this isn't actually funny.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like, I understand how if you just said like, hey, could you imagine how funny it would be if, you know, Virginia Woolf reviewed Trump? You're like, that's a funny idea.
Yeah,
but then you're like, but I don't want to read it.
Yeah,
but the idea, okay, sure, is fun. It almost reminds me of clowning, where it's like they have a concept, and you're like, that's kind of funny to think about. But then you actually see it, and you're like, well, no, don't really actually do it. Nobody wants to actually see it.
Yeah, I mean, if you really took, because clowning is awful, it's a big thing that's infected the LA comedy scene, but
it's a tumor.
Yeah, it's a tumor, it's a cancer, and the chemo's not working. And the chemo, by the chemo, I mean my
our negative energy at the clown open mics.
Well, I mean, I'm just carrying this looks like, you can describe it. It's metal, and
gun.
I was trying not to say it so we can get past the censors, but
gun.
If you use it, then you can get rid of clowns. But apparently I haven't been using it as much as I should be.
We should be threatening those people with guns. We should do a drive-by on the Elysian Theater.
Damn, that would be funny.
That would be awesome. Just shoot into the Elysian Theater.
Yeah. Yeah, we're wearing ski masks, and then we say in like in a really offensive Hispanic accent, we're taking Frogtown back.
Yeah, we're like, you want war? I'll take you to war. That would be awesome, actually. I don't know if comedy's going to work out for us. We might as well just take armed resistance up against other comedians who really aren't even like doing better than us.
Oh, yeah, no. They aren't doing... I mean, in a way, we're not punching down, but we're punching sideways. I mean, their lives have been better than mine in every single way,
Yeah.
I mean, every day for me is worse than the last.
We're just bad at being happy.
I mean, you're not supposed to be, I think. I've read a decent amount of literature where the point is that happiness, you're not supposed to do that stuff.
No, happiness is like a symptom of a well-lived life. But what I'm saying is like we're we have a natural inclination to be unhappy. I don't know about you. I don't mean to lump you into this, but like,
no, definitely, it's definitely true.
On Friday night, I made $250 in one night off of stand-up. Actually, more with the bonus. I made $310 in one night off of stand-up. But I didn't feel good about that.
Yeah. I made $140, and I thought, cha-ching, and then all my problems faded away. So, man, that's a big difference is when I say cha-ching, I'm in a good mood. When you say cha-ching, you're like, I'm thinking about all the other stuff that went into the cha-ching.
For me, it's only one ching.
Oh, wow. That's really sad.
I'm like, I need more money. I need this to happen every night and to not work at a fucking hardware store.
Did you just start working at a hardware store?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm not fully hired yet, but I learned how to make keys, and that was awesome.
That is awesome, though.
I think I'm going to cut my finger off because the key machine just has a blade that you run the key along, and then it makes the grooves. And I think one day my finger's going to hit it, and I'm going to just lose my finger.
Yeah, I mean, working at a hardware store, that's like, I know a lot of people from growing up that work in hardware stores. And a lot of them used to sell drugs, and they were ambitious, but now we don't. Now they're not ambitious. They work at the hardware store.
It is weird to walk around the hardware store and be like, I have a degree. I'm so bad at getting a job.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you have a degree, so you're walking around thinking, my life should be awesome.
Not even awesome, but just like, I should be smarter at finagling.
No.
Because there's so many people that finagle their way into just bullshit jobs and make more money with like any kind of degree.
Yeah, I don't know if that's as true anymore, though. I feel like there's a lot of people complaining about like having degrees and they don't do nothing.
Definitely, but you also just meet so many people where you're like, what's your job? And they're like, I'm a brand consultant. And you're like, what's that? And they're like, I collaborate with innovative creatives to create, astounding and eye-catching promos for products, ideas, and initiatives in a creative space.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so you talk to people. And they're like, yeah. And you're like, how much do you make? And they're like, $8 million an hour.
Yeah, and you're just like, I do real stuff.
Yeah, all of my jobs are like actual stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, make sure everything on the shelf is facing out.
Yeah.
And I prefer that. I think that's why I don't try hard enough at getting these bullshit jobs you don't really have to do anything in. Because when I read the description of those bullshit like jobs where you don't have to do anything, I get intimidated because I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. But then you realize what the job actually is like you send like 3 emails.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the smart people are able to look at this and be like, oh, this is a bullshit job. I know how to lie my way into this, and then this will be easy, and I'll like work 2 hours a day, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
I've never been good at that. I've always just been like, just put me in a hardware store.
Yeah, I think...
And I'll make sure the screws go where they should be.
I think there is like... I feel like it's a lot of like how you're raised too, I feel like a lot of people, they just have been given these jobs that don't make any sense their entire lives, So it's like it becomes easier to just pick up on what are the jobs that are nothing,
Yeah, I just don't have that sense. I just always want to go the direct route.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes like maybe not the easiest route. Not to say my life isn't fucking easy, but I just go like, just keep it simple. So like I've been looking for jobs and my dad was like, my friend owns a hardware store. He says he needs part-time help if you want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, that's simple.
Yeah.
I walk around. I helped a lady get bags of soil.
Yeah.
And that felt good. It did feel good.
Yeah.
I do like it there.
Yeah.
They're nice people. It feels like if I make a stand-up career out of my life, then all these jobs will actually be wonderful.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, imagine you have a stand-up career and you're like, all of my jobs have been like, have been like, had really complicated descriptions and actually meant nothing.
Yeah, the jobs I've had are more direct, where it's like I was on the street trying to donate to charity. Now I'm at a hardware store. I worked at the Comedy Store greeting and seating people. I worked at a clothing stop buying and selling clothes. I worked on a boat for a little bit, delivered food at a barbecue place, worked in a mall food court.
Yeah.
They're never like sort of get out of jail free jobs. It's like, no, here are the things you have to do. some of it's kind of tiring. Maybe you're on your feet, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I was talking to one guy at the shop, and he was like, "Oh, you do stand-up?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I used to host open mics in Chicago, but like not just comedy, like different open mics." And I guess he was also like a musician. And, you know, it's interesting. Sometimes you meet older people at jobs and you're like, well, if stand-up doesn't work out, then I'll be this guy.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, oh, how horrible would that be?
Yeah, I mean, he probably has like a family and stuff.
Or he does. I don't know, but he's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like he's fine. Like he works at a shop where people care about him and know his fucking name. And he's probably not going to get randomly fired ever, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, having a job is just always like interesting in the midst of when you're not a successful stand-up, because you're like, damn, I'm at a job right now.
Yeah.
And if stand-up doesn't work out, then this will be my entire life.
It is funny when if you talk to an audience member and at any point you mention my job, they assume they assume stand-up.
Well, yeah, I have jokes about working jobs, and I have to tell people stand-up doesn't make all the money.
Yeah.
One time I said that, and then a lady was like, "This is your job," and I was like, "No, it is not.
Yeah.
This is not my job."
I guess you could argue maybe it's part-time work.
It's part-time.
Yeah.
I make an amount of money that's some months like part-time work.
Yeah, I mean, some months are really good. Some months at least with my rent, there's definitely been months where it's like, oh, all of the money from stand-up goes towards the rent.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, but like, it's just because my rent is insane. It's like fucking $700.
Some months are astounding. I mean, that's a funny thing about stand-up is like, if I get a main room spot, I can work for 15 minutes and make $500.
Yeah.
Or $900, you know? So it's like, it's a weird position to be in where you're like, if this happened a little more often, I would be a technically professional stand-up comedian.
I feel like even if like working at the Comedy Store, you get to be like, I do stand-up professionally. Technically. Technically.
I was never able to really say that, but yeah, a lot of people have said that. And I think it's fine.
You're only supposed to say that to like women.
Sure.
You have to like lie to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is weird though, because it's like, it is hard to be happy about things. Because I guess if you do look at yourself like a couple years ago, you're like, well, damn, the fact that I make any money off of stand-up is actually kind of amazing. And if I tracked it, there has been an upward progression.
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago, I moved to LA. If you even compare where I'm at now to 2 years ago, it's entirely different.
Right.
But the fear is that eventually it'll stop going, it'll stop getting better. Which I think for most people, it does stop getting better.
It stops getting better for everybody. Some people just get to go really high.
But I mean, like it doesn't, you don't get to you see that it's going well and you're like, wow, this might stop tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even if it's going well, and like going well for this level is like, I have a decent amount of followers, probably make like $400 a month off of just doing stand-up. Like,
you also just see how many people have a lot of followers, and that's kind of the most depressing thing to me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, well, there's so many fucking comedians with like 30,000 followers. There's a good amount with like 200,000. There's even a good amount with like 500,000.
Isn't it weird when you meet a really good-looking comedian at an open mic or something, and then you follow them, and they have twice as many followers as you, and all they posted was, like, selfies and shit?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow. This is what show business is.
You just look at some people with so many followers, and you go, if all these people have so many followers, there's no way this is the only way to be successful.
I feel like...
There's too many people with a huge following for this whole Instagram thing to be the only way to be successful now.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
It's impossible to not sound bitter when you gotta be like, yeah, good-looking people gotta get out of stand-up. This is not for you.
Yeah, I don't...
Historically, this is not for you.
No, you have to have an odd face.
Yeah. You gotta be odd, like something weird's gotta be going on.
Yeah. If I didn't have these humongous eyebrows, people would just be bored.
Well,
and
yeah,
they're already bored.
Yeah, I mean, They loved probably the first 20 minutes when we were just saying nonsense, but now we're just talking about stand-up.
I know. We got to stop.
We got to...
Talking about stand-up is the worst thing to do on a podcast.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to hear about this shit.
Nobody wants to hear about it at all, except one fat guy named Gary.
Oh, shout out to Gary.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gary.
I'm sure he exists.
Shout out to Gary from Indianapolis. We love you.
I don't know.
But you know what people would love, though, about talking about stand-up is if we, if we named names, if we, talk shit and we named names.
Yeah, but it's like, do you even hate anybody? And do you really hate anybody in stand-up? Or is all
we
the
can
negative...
just make stuff up.
Or is all the negative feelings you have just projection,
I mean, that's what... I just think we could just make some shit up.
All right, I'll name some names. Chappelle Lacey is a really nice and courteous guy that really listens attentively when you talk to him. So take that.
Well, that's not the type of naming names. Let's go to the hate corner.
Okay, who do you hate? Who do you want to call out? I
want to call out former guest of the podcast, Joey Cerrone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys... We're calling him the new Fatty Arbuckle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fatty Arbuckle's story. He apparently crushed a woman with his body.
We're calling Joey Fatter Arbuckle.
Yes, and so I would like to tell a story of something that's happened in my vision, what I've seen.
Okay.
Something I've personally witnessed Joey do.
Okay.
Me and Joey were walking down the street holding hands, right?
Normal.
Yeah, completely normal. He saw a bench. He was like, I need to rest, Bench was covered with people. There was maybe 4 people on the bench. He said, I'm going to sit on the bench. He sits on top of all 4 of these people individually, suffocates all 4 of them. It takes about a minute, maybe 2 minutes of him sitting on this person to realize he's sitting on a person, right?
Are their legs sort of like flapping under his body?
Yes, and they die.
Wow.
They died.
Holy shit.
And he did this to multiple people. And it's the worst type of people that you could possibly kill. It was children and elderly people.
Really?
Yes.
So it was like grandparents with their grandchildren? Were they eating ice cream?
Yeah, they were all... It was an ice cream bag.
Out of waffle cones or cups? Don't say
I don't want to say... I don't want to say...
They were cones and he crushed the cones.
He did. He did crush the cones. He suffocated all 4 of them. It was a grandma, grandpa, and a little girl and little boy.
Oh, God.
And
go on.
And I mean, it was crazy because he would sit on them for 2 minutes. He suffocated the grandpa first, so they all had to watch as he killed them. So they all knew what was coming next.
Oh, so he did it one at a time.
He did it one at a time.
And they didn't get off the bench.
He kind of leaned back like this, so they were kind of stuck.
So his arm was over the one soon to be suffocated.
Yes.
Did they say anything?
His arm was also covering their mouths.
Oh, so you just saw their eyes.
You heard. Yeah, I saw that. It was...
Grandpa! And then Grandpa's under Joey.
And Grandpa passes away.
His bones and lungs being crushed slowly.
Yeah, Grandpa.
And what's Joey? Is he just sort of smiling like an idiot?
He's like,
good to get some rest.
Yeah, no, he has no clue what he's doing.
So he didn't recognize that the bench was just covered in humans.
Well, he also thought that they were sleeping when he would get off of them. He would realize he was sitting on a person and then be like, oh, they're sleepy.
Oh, this guy's sleeping.
So this must be a place where I can just rest. And so
how are you that stupid?
That's one thing I've asked about Joey. I've asked him personally.
Yeah.
He said goob gob as a response. That's not even words.
He's such an idiot.
Yeah,
he's such a dangerous idiot, too.
Yeah. I saw him step on a rat. It exploded.
Really? The same day?
It was a different day.
And he said, "Oh, is that a water balloon?"
That's what he said. Yeah. The back, the bottom of his shoes were covered in animals. And
the other day he said, I walked up to him and he said, "Oh, hey, I'm just chilling out having a Coca-Cola. I'm drinking a can of Coke." And I looked in his hand. And it wasn't a can of Coke. It was a cardinal, like the bird, the red bird. And its head had been, I guess, ripped off. and he was just sort of sucking the blood and guts and bird hollow bones out of it. And he was like, I love Coke. And I'm like, Joey, that isn't a can of Coke. That's a decapitated cardinal that you're sucking the innards out of. And he says, oh, well, that makes so much sense. That's why it was so hard to open. And I go, open? You thought it was like a bottle? I guess, I don't know if it's can or bottle, but he was like, yeah, it was really tough to open. And I was like, well, that should have tipped you off. Did it move? And he was like, it was moving a lot.
Well, yeah, this was at the Comedy Store. I remember because he said that he didn't get it from the bar. He didn't get his can of Coke from the bar, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I had no clue what it was. I just saw, just a like flat thing of bird skin.
And then another time I walked into the main room, and it was before his shift. He was sitting in one of the booths, and he looked up happily and he said, I'm having lunch. And his mouth was covered in blood. And I was like, what the fuck? So I looked down, and there was like half of a cat's body of like the hind legs and the stomach, and then in the where it was cut off was like just obvious bite marks. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm eating a Subway sandwich. And I was like, Joey, that's a cat. Have you just been taking bites out of a cat? And then he said, no, I've been eating a Subway sandwich and drinking a Coca-Cola. Once again, same thing. He found cardinals seem rare, at least in California. He's sucking the blood and guts out of another cardinal. So he'd just been eating raw cat and sucking raw cardinal, thinking he was eating a Subway sandwich and drinking a Coke.
I mean, he's a big problem. He's a massive problem.
How dumb do you got to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the other day,
he tried to put me in between some bread. I thankfully escaped.
Are you serious?
I thankfully escaped, yes.
He thought you were deli meat?
He thought I was lunch meat.
Oh my
That's correct.
God, what a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he thought I was deli meat, which is crazy because usually he thinks of me as a stuffed bear. He thinks I'm a stuffed bear.
Oh, he hugs you too hard.
He does hug me very hard. He does get very scared when I'm not around.
Yeah, I mean, he's dumb as rocks. The other day he said, I can't wait to finally eat my cookie. And then he just pulled out a live frog that already had a bite taken out of it. It was dead. And it's like a really obvious, almost cartoonish bite mark, kind of like between the neck and body, just took a bite out of it. And so its head was hanging off. And he thought the spots at the frog were chocolate chips. And I said, no, that's a bullfrog. You've been taking bites out of a bullfrog. And I was like, where are you finding all these animals?
We went to, oh God, it's a really traumatic story. We're walking past a massive military graveyard. And he started running towards it. And I said, Joey, where are you going? He said, I'm going to have my salad. And he proceeded to eat all the flowers off of the grave. He would take one big bite, a lot of the dirt. So much dirt would be sucked into his mouth that you could see the flag-draped coffin. And he would take the flag and he would wipe his mouth with it and eat the flag.
Oh my God.
And then I saw him say, yum, yum, some croutons, and he took a bite out of the gravestone.
Oh no.
So he's creating more unknown soldiers because now the name has been eaten.
Yeah. He just desecrated the military cemetery. The one in Westwood, was it?
Yes, the one in Westwood, yes.
You can't eat a headstone. I don't even know how he can bite through stone like that.
He has dentures now because he's done it so many times.
The other day
dentures carved through stone.
Oh, okay. The other day we walked by a homeless guy and he said, what is that, a burger? He just tried to fucking eat him. It was a live man. I said, that's a man, a human like you and me. A brother of our own kind. And he said, looks like a burger. And then he pulled out a slice of Kraft cheese from his pocket. And then he threw it on the guy's face.
But what was the Kraft cheese actually?
It was a kid's skinned face. It was the face of a child. And he said, this is a slice of cheese. And I said, that's a child's face. Did you skin
Where did
it?
you get that?
And he said, the grocery store. And I was like, I think you went to a school and did that. And then I was watching the news, and it's a picture of fucking video. They got video everywhere now. It's a video of Joey going into a class, skinning a kid's face and saying, I love Ralph's. I'm at the grocery store.
And they can't identify him. He's just so covered in blood and poo-poo.
He's killing people and things like almost all day. I mean, the other day, we were standing there. He shit in his pants. Then he said, I'm going to go get a Snicker, walked 5 feet away, reached into his pants, pulled out a hard turd, took it out, and said, I just got back from 7-Eleven. The man's fully delusional, and then pretended to unwrap, and then he ate his own shit. He said, I love nougat.
Could we get like on post edit, could you get Joey's face and like when I say this is hate corner, say like hate corner like in letters and then it's Joey's face.
Yeah, I could probably work that out. Yeah, so I don't know. The other day he said he'd started doing Zen and then he just pulled out chopped off fingers and shoved them into his upper lip.
Yeah.
And I mean, that one I didn't even care about. One's
not that bad.
He's also been wearing a beanie that's just a guy's head.
Oh,
it's
that's
just
crazy.
A man's head skin. He's just been putting the scalp of a man on his head and saying, I love my new beanie.
Have you seen his new shirt?
Is it a guy's?
Oh, you're not going to like this.
Is it the skin of a man's torso?
No. It's really bad.
What is it?
So you know the Vietnam War Memorial, the like stone that has all the names of the dead people on it?
Yeah.
He picked it up and he put it on over his head. He's just been wearing a full, he calls it a onesie. And it's just the names of everybody that's died, and they're all covered in mustard.
He's gotten it dirty too?
He's gotten it incredibly dirty.
Oh, well, that's terrible.
It's full of mustard and little pieces of people.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff he's doing is horrific. The other day he said he had a quilted parka, almost like your jacket, like the quilted thing. And it was just a bunch of women's severed breasts that had been sewn together into a jacket. And I'm like, you're like Ed Gein. Like, this is like, you're really doing horrific things.
I saw his phone background was a picture of Joseph Mengele, and I said, "Is that Joseph Mengele?" He goes, "That's Daddy." He said, "That's Daddy."
He's really a sick man. He said, "Yeah, that guy made good food," and I was like,
"That's good food, and that's Daddy. My daddy a good cook."
That man's McDonald's. That man does McDonald's. He thinks McDonald's is people.
He said he ate a double cheeseburger. It was just two twins sewed together.
One time he said, I'm going to make a cheeseburger, and I had to stop him from putting his hand into an industrial meat grinder because he feels no pain. So he would have just ground his own hand into like ground beef of hand and then cooked it and been fine with it.
He showed me a picture of himself one time and said, one day I'm going to have the biggest meal of all.
Yeah, he's trying to eat himself constantly. The other day he was just drinking a cup of blood. But it was a Comedy Store cup. Like, he'd gotten the cup from the Comedy Store, but it was just full of blood, like viscous blood, and ice, too.
He said that he has a Coke freestyle machine in his veins.
Yeah, the other day he said he was making tea, but he was just dipping a man's tongue into hot water. The tongue was still attached to the man, and he was just holding him by his hair.
Wow.
He said, this is green tea, and I said, that's a man.
Yeah. He thinks Anthony Bourdain is William Calley, the orchestrator of the My Lai massacre.
And that's just plain stupid.
That's just dumb.
He thinks of Nanking was a buffet. And it wasn't. It was a horrific act of violence extracted upon the Chinese people.
You know about the killing fields, they have a tree that they specifically use to bash infants' brains onto.
Yeah.
He said that that's his favorite candy bar. And there's huge bites taken out. He showed me a picture. He's taking huge bites out of it.
He went to the tree and tried to eat it?
He said, yeah, the child killing tree in the killing fields.
Yeah, he got kicked out of a man being executed at state prison the other day because he wouldn't stop saying, are we going to eat this guy after?
He said, we're cooking the guy.
This is
hibachi. He thinks it's hibachi when a man is executed.
He thinks the electric chair is hibachi. And he just keeps saying compliments to the chef.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Anyway, so if you follow Joey Cerrone, I would recommend blocking him. He's been attempting to eat people over the DM messages.
Well, he thinks Grindr is Uber Eats. He keeps inviting over guys and trying to eat them. It's like, this is horrible. You can't do this.
And he does it racistly, too.
Yeah, he does it racistly, too. That's, for me, that's the line. All the other stuff I was okay with.
He says the R word.
Which you shouldn't.
You should not say the R word. You should not refer, if you don't, you shouldn't use the word gay in place of lame. He does that very often.
And that's where
he also kills people.
Yeah, but it's really the derogatory language that kind of gets to me the most. It's like, why would you say that, dude? That's not cool. You know? Like, if you accidentally, think a man's blood is Kool-Aid and you drink it and you slowly take all his blood until he withers away, then that's a mistake.
Well, he thinks...
But what he's doing is not a mistake. It's rude, and it's discriminatory.
I've seen some of the emails he's drafted to comedy clubs, and you're not going to believe what he thinks best regards is supposed to mean. When you sign off, what he thinks best regards, what he writes instead of that. You're never going to...
What does he write?
The N-word.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
I'm like, Joey, you're never going to get booked at these clubs if you sign it off with the N-word. And he says, well, that's a really nice thing to say because you're saying you want them to have a good day.
And you're not.
That's not what that means.
Yeah. He said he wished he could have ate Martin Luther King, which is not cool.
He calls the I Have a Dream speech the chocolate candy bar speech.
That's crazy. That is a crazy thing to say. But you didn't, so I'll let you off the hook for it. And anybody watching can't be mad at you. Because
that's Joey Cerrone.
Joey Cerrone, comedian, employed at the Comedy Store.
I would email... What's the Comedy Store's email? Could we put this on the bottom?
Yeah, sure.
Let's put this at the bottom. I don't know what the Comedy Store's email, but email the Comedy Store, say, the subject line, I don't want to get ate by Joey Cerrone.
I actually have a funny story involving Joey. There was an old couple. There was an old, British or Australian man, and he was watching a comic at the Comedy Store who was black, and he kept saying to his wife, he was like, "This is horrible." And I'm like, this is the most racist man I've ever seen. So I got on stage and I was like, damn, you fucking hated that last set and you don't know how to whisper. I was like, your neglectful mother never taught you how to whisper, so you kept yelling at the woman you bought because she looked younger than him. And then he seemed kind of angry or whatever. And then I just bombed for 15 minutes straight. And I told a story about how it's cool to want to kill yourself when you're a kid. And then they started talking. And so Joey went over to him and he'd already told him to be quiet. So he was like, hey, you have to stop talking. And then the woman said, my daughter, who was a teenager, committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
So I was expressing grief. And then he was like, no. And
you're going to have to leave.
And I'm happy that her daughter killed herself. Because they talked in a comedy show. So
that means if something bad's happened to you, it's good.
Yeah, so I'm glad that her daughter took her own life at the tender age of probably 16. Because she talks in comedy shows, so,
Well, I think what happened was, and correct me if you think this is wrong, so that British man, he probably is a very rich man, and he preys on younger women who are going through trauma, and kind of funds their whole lifestyle, and he kind of saw what he would refer to as a mark, which is, to those guys, if you're trying to, traffic women, a mark is a woman who is child has died.
Yeah, the woman, I couldn't tell if she seemed younger than him, had a lot of plastic surgery. And then when I got off stage, the guy raised his hand like he wanted a high five, kind of a I hate you, but I'll give you a high five type thing. That's what I thought it was. And then I was like, okay. So I went down to give him a high five, and then he really aggressively tried to grab my hand.
Wow.
Tried to be like, ah.
Yeah, I mean,
wow,
that's a
he's drunk on champagne.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have high-fived him.
Well, sometimes you're like, well, I'm not a bitch.
Yeah. So I'll just let this guy grab me.
Well, I didn't let him grab me. When he tried to grab me, I got off. But I was like, I'm not going to say a bunch of mean stuff to you. And then, if you want a high five, I'll give you a high five.
Yeah.
I said some mean stuff to you. I guess I'll give you a high five.
And I'm really sorry that your stepdaughter committed suicide. Hey, man.
Personally, I'm not.
I'm really sorry that your stepdaughter probably found one of your ropes, your good ropes, and then hung herself. It was probably one of your ropes, and you probably left a gun around.
Yeah, he was being very, very loud about how he didn't like the set he was watching. He's like, it's horrible. And I guess he also thought I was horrible because everybody did, actually. Nobody laughed the entire time.
Well, you live and you learn.
I don't think I learned.
I think you learned a little bit, you know?
I don't know. Sometimes
you learned that their daughter committed suicide.
I did learn that. I don't think I've gotten any better at stand-up in the last 5 years.
I've noticed, yeah, you getting better with doing the fallouts and shit. You're a lot more comfortable up there, and we're doing it again. We're talking about stand-up.
Yeah, I know. I was aware of it when I did it.
But the story was over. We're talking about stand-up. Anyway.
I just have that thing where you're like, damn, I don't think I know anything.
So you want to do some hot goss about some celebs before we go?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, Johnny Depp, star of Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You might have heard some rumors about the recent Johnny Depp
lay it on me.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. What's the goss that you have firsthand information on? What is it? It better not be the worst thing you could possibly think of.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
What's the truth that you know firsthand? Tell me privately.
Oh, I thought we were going to do this on the pod.
It is private.
Oh,
yeah.
Private.
That's what I meant.
It kind of is because we don't have that many viewers.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah. So, Johnny Depp has been finding every single copy of the, you know how they used to have like the little, what is it called? The way that they would, so you didn't have to write out every book, right? You didn't have to write out, a guy invented something so you don't have to write out a printing press.
Yes.
He's been finding every old copy of the Declaration of Independence.
I think most of those are held by the government, so he's okay.
He's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, okay.
He's Johnny Depp.
He's like breaking into the Library of Congress, I guess?
He's not breaking in. He's just asked for another one every couple weeks.
They just give it to him?
They just give it to him.
Because he's Captain Jack Sparrow?
Yeah.
Why would they give the Declaration of Independence to a pirate?
Anyway, do you want to hear the hot
Yes,
goss,
I want to hear it. Tell me.
So
Lay it on me.
He's been rolling them up and putting them inside of his own ass, lighting it on fire.
Oh my God.
He's been lighting it on fire, and it's so far into his asshole, right, that it reaches the little cackles of fire eventually reach into the prostate. And apparently that's a new way a lot of celebrities have been getting, like a lot of, sexually. That's been a new thing for them sexually, that they've been taking old historical parchments and lighting them on fire inside of their ass.
That's true?
It's very true. Could we get like a little graphic on the screen because it's like a celebrity gossip?
I guess we're doing a lot of post work for this episode. I guess I'll get right on it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Yeah, so that's some new news about Johnny Depp. A lot of people. Johnny Depp has inspired a big trend within the famous celebrity Henry Winkler.
Apparently,
Laverne and Shirley has been taken up. He's been using.
Don't tell me, but tell me privately.
Privately, he's found a bunch of old Civil War documents. He's been bundling them up and putting them inside of his ass.
Oh, I have some hot gossip. Apparently, Anna Taylor-Joy, famous actress, has been going to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital and has been fingering herself in front of terminally ill children and then squirting into a cup and pouring it into their IV and killing them with her pussy juice because she's shooting her pussy juice directly into their veins. And that is true.
And that's the Hollywood Minute.
And that's the Dagnabbit Boys Hollywood Minute. Hope you like that, everybody.
Oh yeah, and we're starting to get to the end of the episode. You have like a dance prepared. I was told, not by you. I got a message before this from an unknown number, and it said about the 1 hour mark, we're ready to dance.
Yeah, so I have a quick dance and a quick story to tell. So the lady from the movie Honora has been going into children's hospitals with a blade, and she's been cutting into the arms of terminally ill children and sucking their blood like a vampire, and then killing and fucking their parents.
That's been the Dagnabbit Boys Hollywood Minute.
That's the Hollywood Minute. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with Hollywood's hottest gossip.
And Cooper's little dance has kind of elevated this episode into S tier status.
This is S tier, bitch.
Yeah, this is the SS for Slabtober.
Everything we said is true.
Everything
said on this podcast has been true, and we'll defend it in court. Okay. Thanks.
We have our own lawyer. We have our own lawyer. This is all true. We have Vinny Boom Bots Esquire.
This is a great way to do the podcast. They just look at our dicks. All right.
Can they see us dancing?
They can see the lower, probably like stomach down.
Right.
Check out Shane's dance. Tune in next week for more Hollywood gossip and cool dancing.